I know I am not alone when I feel like I am failing in a lot of areas. Sometimes we have very high expectations on what we can accomplish in a day. And when we fall short of what is on our to do list, it can be very disheartening. And my natural reaction is to feel a bit defeated. But once I began taking the intentional time to figure out my priorities and then pairing that with planning ahead each week, it was much easier to be intentional with my time so that I could focus on my priorities first. And this allowed me to choose where to spend my time so that I could feel more joy because I was prioritizing the things that were most important to me and I was able to let other things go without feeling the guilt. So today I actually want to share a kind of a fun exercise with you that will help you figure out your priorities so that you too can feel more joy and less guilt.
Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renae Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast.
So, this is definitely one you are going to want to grab a journal or a paper and pen or something to write with because you will likely want to sit down for this one. It's going to be something that you could listen and just kind of do it mentally, but I can tell you right now that sitting down and taking time to actually go through this exercise and write it out is going to make such a big difference for you because you will find that you are writing things that it gives you a different perspective on how you're spending your time. And when we are trying to cram so many things into our day, we start to realize that we can't do it all because we're trying to pile in a lot more things than we actually have time for. And we need to figure out what our priorities are so that we can actually dedicate our time to those things so that we do feel more fulfilled. Now, one of the things that I did when I was going through this process was focusing on increasing my spiritual life. I knew I was failing in a lot of areas of prayer time. And one of the things that I wanted to focus on for the last couple of years was to increase that prayer time and learn more about my faith. And 2 years ago, so last year, we're at the end of December here in 2024 when I'm recording this. But in 2023, I committed to doing the Catholic Catechism in a year. So you read the whole catechism from start to finish, that whole throughout the year. I followed a podcast that did it with me, and it was just so good to be able to commit to that and actually follow through with it. And again, this year, I wanted to do a similar thing, but I did the Bible in a year. So I am on pace to actually complete it. And I'm just super proud of myself. But I know that if I hadn't gone through an exercise like this, I would not have stuck to it because I would have found other things that should have used up my time, or would have thought could use up my time instead of dedicating it to focusing on doing the catechism and doing my Bible study. But knowing that that was a priority for me, it allowed me to make sure I carved out time in my morning routine for those things because that was a priority on my list. Where if I hadn't done this to actually pull that in as a priority, I would have found other things to take the time because I would have thought that something else was more important. And now that I have done this, I was able to actually stick to it because I knew in my mind that this was a priority and it was important to me and it was something that I was going to focus time on. And that's kind of what this does in all different areas of your life, but it's just a fun exercise to do. Even if you're not a journaler, even if this exercise sounds incredibly corny to you, I still want you to do it because you might learn a lot about yourself that you didn't realize. And maybe this will be exciting to you. Maybe it'll be emotional. You might even find that, like, tears come. I have had several times where I'm not even a crier and it brought me to tears because it was like there are so many things that I didn't realize about myself and where I was feeling guilt and where I was kind of putting my life in a different direction than where I really wanted it to go. And this is something that you can use to really pull you back to what is most important so that you don't have to feel so guilty when you are focusing your time on the things that are important to you. So here we go. This is what you're going to do. You're going to grab a paper and pen or your journal or just a scrap piece of paper if that's all you have. And I want you to go through this exercise and think about not showing it to anybody else. This is just for you. You do not have to have anybody else see it so you can be truly like raw and honest with yourself. You are going to write a letter to yourself. And I'll walk you through the process. It's not just going to be like, hey, write a letter to yourself, tell you what's important. I'm actually going to give you some steps of what to write as you go through so that it kind of guides this letter to yourself. And like I said, be super open, raw, and honest with yourself because nobody else needs to read this. So, the first thing you're going to do is your first paragraph of your letter, you are going to write an overview of what is currently happening in your life. So, literally, write this, dear Renae, like that's my name. So you're going to write a letter to yourself like you were writing to a friend. Just start recapping what is going on in your life right now. What are you currently doing? What is your time filled with? What tasks are currently on your plate? What are you doing for fun lately? Like that is what you're wanting to focus on is I want you to just focus that first paragraph on summarizing everything that is currently happening in your life. And then once you do that, I want you to move to the second paragraph. And this is where you are going to start writing what you are most proud of and what you have been doing well. You are going to do some positive reinforcement here. If you are a words of affirmation person, you're going to love this paragraph because you want to just really summarize what you're proud of, what you have been doing well in this paragraph. And then when you get to the third paragraph, I want you to rate your feelings in these categories that I'm going to give you. And you're going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. And then you are going to summarize that area and what you would like to see improved. So this one can get kind of confusing. So I will give you an example, but to before I give you the example, I want you to kind of think of these categories, and I'll read the categories first, so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about, and then I'll give you an example. So your categories are going to be number one, relationships; number two, spiritual life; number three, health and physical; number four is home; number five is financial. Number 6 is personal. Now, those are the 6 that I would recommend that you do for sure, but you can do additional categories if you'd like. Some other ideas might be work or business or career. It could be hobbies, parenthood, things like that. But for sure, do those first 6 that I mentioned. And then the others could just be optional if you want to. But what you're going to do is you're going to take each of these categories and you are going to rate your feelings of how you feel you are doing in each of these areas on a scale of 1 to 10, and then summarize that and what you would like to see improved. So, as an example, if I were to write down relationships as my first area, I would rate my relationships a 6 out of 10. My husband and I have a good flow, and we are growing well in our relationship and having regular dates. But I feel that I'm drifting away from my siblings and would like to be more intentional about spending time connecting with them. So that's an example of what you might want to write in that specific category. So then once you do that, you would move to spiritual life. How would you rate it and summarize your feelings and what you might want to see improved? Okay, so you're going to take some time to go through this with all 6 of these areas. And then once you do that, you are going to move to your fourth paragraph. And this is going to be If I could create one small habit or practice in each of those categories, I would focus on blank and commit to blank. So, as an example, it would be like, so for relationships, I would focus on calling one sibling each week and commit to setting an alarm in my phone to do this at 10 a.m. every Saturday. So that is an example of what you might do as your goal in that area to improve it. And then you're just going to do this for each of those categories: the relationships, spiritual life, health and physical, home, financial, personal, and then any of the additional ones that you had written down as well. And then you're going to finish that off and you are going to sign your letter, and that is going to give you a quick summary and overview of what is actually important to you. These are the things that you should focus your time on, and these can be pulled into those little habits and routines that are in your life. Because now, when you look at your letter to yourself, you are going to see what is important to you. And you're going to see where your time needs to be spent, because when you are focusing your time on all the other things and looking at what you are wanting to do in your priorities, you need to make sure they mesh together. So if your routine, or if your focus is to build your relationships with your siblings, you need to make sure that you are carving out time to do whatever it is you're committing to. If you are focusing your spiritual life, and this is where I was running into, if my spiritual life was lacking and I wanted to make sure I was dedicating time to getting into the Bible and actually learning the Bible, then I need to make sure that that is part of my routine. For me, it was easiest to add it to my morning routine. But maybe that's not the case for you. Maybe it is doing it at a different time of day. Maybe it's listening to an audio version. Maybe it is doing a nightly routine after the kids go to bed. Maybe it is doing it on your lunch break, whatever works best for you. And maybe that's not part of your goal. Maybe you have a different goal in the spiritual area. So there's a lot of different areas that you're going to have different goals than I do. So me telling you what routines to do are not going to be very helpful, because that doesn't like mesh with your priorities. So going through this exercise, you're going to realize where your priorities are so that you can focus that time. So if you do focus on doing that Bible study on your in your morning routine, when you get up to do your morning routine, you don't have to feel guilty for spending the time to do that, because it is something that is important to you and it's getting you where you want to ultimately go, and things that you, or like an area of life you want to grow in. So this is what I absolutely love about doing exercises like this, because even if there aren't like tactical things you're doing, it gives you a better overview and kind of snapshot of your life as it is now and where you're wanting it to go. And then as you start to slowly pull in these little habits and routines that you commit to, then you are going to look back and see how that shifts your life moving forward. And it's just a really cool experience that I strongly encourage you to do this. Even if it does sound super corny or cheesy, I still want you to do this. And I encourage you to take some time to actually go through this, because you you will be shocked at what you learn about yourself. So, once you do this and you need some time to actually like schedule these things in and learn how to stack it into your day, I do have a few episodes I want to just mention to you that you could then go in and actually plug in and figure out how to plan out your weeks. So, episode 33, episode 34, and episode 67, those are all going to help you to really like figure out how to plan out your weeks so that you can pull these priorities in and really figure out where you're aligning your time. So this is going to help you to feel that joy and less guilt. So again, I will really quickly recap what to write in that letter to yourself. And if you haven't already, just pause the episode and take time to go through this, or write down the challenge and then go and actually sit down and write the letter, however it works for you. But just take some time to do this, and I hope that it like opens a whole new perspective in your life. So here we go. The recap of the letter to yourself is your first paragraph is going to be summarizing an overview of what is currently happening in your life. What is your time being filled with, or what types of things are filling your time? What tasks are currently on your plate? What are you doing for fun? All the things. What is going on in your life? The second paragraph is what are you most proud of and what are you doing well? This is that positive reinforcement and words of affirmation. The third paragraph, you are going to rate your feelings in each of these areas on a scale of 1 to 10, and then you're going to summarize in each of the categories what you would like to see improved. So, number 1, relationships. Number 2, spiritual life. Number 3, health and physical. Number 4, home. Number 5, financial. And number 6, personal. And then if you want to add any others, you certainly can. And then in your final paragraph, you are going to write in, if I could create one small habit or practice in, blank area, I would focus on blank and commit to blank. And you're going to do this for each of those 6 areas. And then you're going to sign your letter and finish it off. And I hope that you just enjoy this and really take it to heart and actually be very honest with yourself. And I hope that you learn something about yourself, even if you take one small thing away from this, even if you don't focus on all of those 6 areas and making any changes in all 6, I hope you at least make a change in at least one of those areas, because anything that we can do, small changes are better than nothing. And usually small changes are better than big changes because they're more sustainable and they're easier to commit to. So I hope that at least you take one of those little commitments and you focus on that and you make that change, and that it helps to improve that area of your life. And then when you're ready, you can take on another one, and that will give you more joy in that area and help you to feel less guilt in spending time focused on that thing, because you now have a little bit more direction on why you are spending time in that area. And if you have been enjoying the podcast, I would love to hear from you. You can actually leave a review in the podcast app that you're listening to. You can either leave a rating, and if you can leave a written review in your app, I would love to hear from you. Some you can't leave a written review, you can only do the rating. And either way, it helps a ton in getting the show out there to others and having those algorithms push it out to more people. And if you also want to leave an audio testimonial, I would love to hear from you that way too. You can do that by going to speakpipe.com/the routine advantage podcast. And then you just click the little orange button to leave an audio review. Make sure you actually go through the little process to make sure it submits to me. And then we will have an audio review so I can hear your voice and I can hear from you on what you are loving about the show, how it's helping you, and all the things. So I would love to hear from you if you can take a few minutes to leave that rating, review, or audio SpeakPipe message. And I am just so grateful that you are here, and I will see you on the next episode. If you are looking to add a little luxury to your skincare routine, I have just the thing for you. We were recently at a restaurant in Vegas, and as the server is going down the table checking IDs, he does a double take at my husband and me, and he's like, "Whoa, you guys look great. What is your secret?" And at first, my husband thought that he was talking about our clothes because I was wearing this black fancy dress and he was in this pretty amazing red and black velvet jacket. But after he left, I turned to our friend and asked her, "Did he just very nicely call us old?" She was laughing and agreed with me. He was actually looking at our ages on our IDs, not at our clothes. But for me, here's the secret. I love keeping skincare super simple. My nightly routine is to cleanse, spritz on a little toner to balance the pH of my skin, apply a serum to help with those signs of aging, which apparently is working, and a nice facial oil to lock in the moisture. It only takes me like 3 to 5 minutes each night, and then in the morning, I simply splash my face with cool water and apply a serum. I let that soak in while I brush my teeth before applying any makeup. And that is as simple as it gets. That's just my basic skincare routine. And the serum I use has been a total game changer. I've been using it for about 3 years now, and when I look back at pictures, I can see how much of a difference it has made in keeping that youthfulness in my skin and helping to keep those fine lines and wrinkles at bay. My skin feels refreshed, and it also feels like a little mini spa session for a few minutes each day. And quick tip, when you apply your serum, apply it when your face is still slightly damp, either with the water or the toner, and your skin absorbs it so well. And the great news is that right now, the company that I use for the serums is having a Black Friday sale and it's buy one, get one free, which is amazing. They have not done this since 2021. And when you're looking at them, I personally apply the Time Machine at night and then the C Juvenate serum in the morning. And you can also grab their lash serum with that same buy one, get one discount for amazing long lashes. I often get asked if I'm wearing falsies, but it's my own lashes. It's literally a routine of swiping the lash serum across the base of the top of your lashes at the end of my nightly skincare routine. It takes like 3 seconds for amazing lashes. So if you want to snag the discount to treat yourself or use it as a way to buy some stocking stuffers, go grab the facial serums or the lash serum, which they just restocked, by going to helloskincare.com and use code Renae BOGO. That is RENAEBOGO. And that will get you the buy one, get one deal, which is happening now through December 2nd. And one quick note is to activate the code, you want to make sure you have at least 2 items in your cart that are one time purchases. When you add something to your cart, you can select it as a one time purchase or as a subscription. This code does not work on the subscriptions, it's only on the one time purchases. So add 2 items to your cart, and then one of them will be completely free. And you can mix and match the items. So you can choose whichever items you want, and it can even be used on the collections. So I think it's pretty amazing. It's such a good deal if you are wanting to have that little spa session and very nicely get told that you're old, then you need to add these serums to your skincare routine. So again, it's helloskincare.com. Add at least 2 items of the one-time purchase to your cart and then use code Renee BOGO to activate your discount.